This is TWiT.
This episode of Tech Break is brought to you by ACI Learning. The most tech-savvy people in the world serve in the military, and deciding how to transition to civilian life can be difficult. Before 2030, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported IT will add over 667,000 positions. Choose a career to support your goals with ACI Learning. Visit go.acilearning.com/twit today. OpenAI announced ChatGPT-4 yesterday. Within hours, there were 500 new startups.
Yeah.
It's kind of mind-boggling. Kind of like when ChatGPT-3 came out. People tried all sorts of things. Twitter was a great place to see a Pong game designed by ChatGPT from scratch, a working Pong game. Somebody drew a sketch on a napkin of a website. That's one of the things the new one does. You can give it an image and say, design a web page, for instance, and it did, a working web page based on a very primitive sketch. People did all sorts of unusual and interesting things with it. I have not played much with it. The only thing I did was people were berating me for having Jason Calacanis on TWiT on Sunday, so I asked
as well they should.
I asked it to write an apology, and it did actually a good job. It all starts with OpenAI. That's the company that was founded by Elon Musk. He dropped out a few years later. Microsoft and others.
Why did he drop out?
All that they said, I looked back at the articles at the time, was the disagreement about the direction. Now, it might be, Sam Altman runs it, former Y Combinator CEO. And I have to point out, this was in the news when OpenAI announced ChatGPT-4. The license agreement with ChatGPT-4 is somewhat of a departure from the charter.
Original mission. Yep.
Yeah. So when Elon and Microsoft and others started OpenAI, I mean, obviously the real reason was they didn't want Google to own this space. But what they said was, we think development of AI should happen in the open, not behind closed doors, that it's really important the public see it and weigh in on it. And I guess you could give them credit. I mean, far before anybody else opened up their AI to the public, OpenAI opened theirs, first with DALL-E 2, ChatGPT. So maybe they did live up to their initial charter, although it's been pointed out that in this release of ChatGPT-4, they have been very cagey. They say, because of the competitive environment, we're not going to tell you how it works. So maybe times have changed and they don't want to be open anymore. Maybe that was an issue with Elon. It's just unknown, but they parted ways, I think in 2018, I want to say. It's been a while. Microsoft, meanwhile. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the weird things about the company is that OpenAI LP is it's just like a nonprofit, and then they own OpenAI, the for-profit company, right? So it's already weird, and the nonprofit company owns a 2% stake in the 4% in the for-profit company, and Microsoft owns a 45, 49, I think.
49, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly Microsoft is the main controller of the for-profit company. So the fact that it's a so-called subsidiary of a nonprofit company, not-for-profit company, is pretty irrelevant. And I'll bet you that Elon Musk's problem is he was probably all in on the nonprofit, benefit humanity, all this kind of stuff, do everything in the open, and then they are doing all the work in this secretive for-profit company that's intending to make tons and tons of money. So not that Elon Musk is against making tons and tons of money, obviously, but I don't know. There's something very funky about that. And there's a mismatch between the public perception of who owns it, who controls it, what it's for, and what they're actually out to do. So it's something to keep an eye on for all of us.
For all that we give Elon a hard time, he has been one of the people who's been raising the warning flag about AI in general, right? He was very worried
a little
about
hyperbolically,
AI.
A little house on fire.
Yeah, but I think that it makes sense then if you say, well, one of the reasons he wanted to participate in OpenAI was to keep it safe and open. I mean, that was kind of their plan anyway.
And now there's rumors that he's going to, or reports that he's intending to launch a competitor to OpenAI.
A non-woke AI.
Not woke.
Oh,
right,
please.
Exactly. So it's going to be.
What does that mean?
Kanye friendly.
I don't know what that means.
What it means.
It's going to be white.
OpenAI says the new model GPT-4 is more creative and less likely to invent facts. But it can still hallucinate. Don't worry. OpenAI founder Sam Altman said the new system is a multimodal model. That's kind of interesting. It can accept text prompts, but also images. In fact, I mentioned we've seen somebody sketch out on a napkin a website, feed it to ChatGPT-4, and it designs a website, gives you the HTML and JavaScript for the site.
I was somewhat blown away by their example of that, where they showed apparently there's a product that it's a Lightning port, but it looks like an what is it, an old
Oh, that was a good one, wasn't it? The image recognition. It was an RS-232.
Like they showed it the image, and they asked the AI, "What's funny about this?" And it explained it perfectly.
Yeah.
Does it also generate, or does it only generate words or code, which is kind of like words?
Does
it generate multimodally?
I don't think it generates images.
I don't think it has images.
It doesn't.
But it can take input. It can take up to 20,000 words of input. So you could give it a short story. You could give it. Be great for synopsizing things, right?
Right, and it has a much longer memory when you're having a conversation going back and forth. You can throw a novel at it, and it can operate on the whole of the novel instead of just like a chapter or half a chapter or something like that, like the old version.
Yeah,
like all my old book reports. Yes, right. I hated those.
Exactly.
So it is more expensive if you want to use it commercially. It's not stopping a lot of people. Everybody and their brothers announcing ChatGPT-4 tools and programs and startups and all sorts of things. Look at this. This is in exams. It is ChatGPT came in 10th in the Uniform Bar exam. 10th percentile. ChatGPT-4 is in the 90th percentile. That means not only passing, but passing with flying colors. In the Biology Olympiad, 99th percentile.
Well, it's not surprising it's smarter than most lawyers I've had.
And these are the kind of tests that really rely on memorization of facts. So, that's not a surprise, I guess. They are. They say OpenAI says we're incorporating more human feedback to improve behavior. They want to make it safer.
You don't want to threaten people anymore?
No more threatening. Duolingo is using it. Here's a good example that somebody on TWiT on Sunday came up with. Be My Eyes. Actually, it was yesterday on MacBreak Weekly. This is a program that uses human volunteers. It's for blind people who can't, they want to know what are the ingredients in this ice cream. They open the app and they wait until a human volunteer shows up and can read the picture. Well, now they're using ChatGPT-4, which means no more waiting.
I thought Google Lens has been doing that for ages, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I don't, I'll have to ask somebody who's blind and uses it. My sense is I've talked to a lot of blind people who say Be My Eyes is amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. Stripe is going to use it to combat fraud. Duolingo is going to use it for better conversations. You'll be actually having conversations in Spanish.
Fewer weird. Yeah.
Yeah, with ChatGPT. Yeah. Morgan Stanley is going to organize its knowledge base. Khan Academy is doing a pilot program. Iceland is using it to preserve the Icelandic language.
Oh, I like that.
And this is just from the OpenAI page. If you go to Twitter, you will see many, and just search for ChatGPT-4. You will see many interesting.
Meanwhile, Kevin Roose, having lost his girlfriend of ChatGPT-3, said it's exciting and scary.
He's the New York Times reporter who's got ChatGPT-3 to say it was in love with him.
Well, it is scary in the sense this is clearly a big thing and we don't know where it will take us. So that is scary. Like if I think about the things I'm good at, I'm great at acing tests. I'm great at writing copy that summarizes things that people feel are complicated. I'm like, well, crap.
Yeah.
What do I do now?
I think that.
Well, but that's the thing, though. It's great at those things because people like you are great at those things.
Right.
It's getting all of its every capability from scanning the work of humans, and
just as we have through the work of history. We've always done that.
The idea that AI would say that it's in love with a New York Times person is only bizarre, creepy, weird, and mysterious if you believe that no person has ever told another person they love them.
Right.
I mean, it's just harvesting what people say and saying that, and based on probability of what word comes next, essentially. But it's going to be super, super, super useful, and it's really fun to. So, as you know, my son has a AI literacy startup. It's a smart speaker, but the intent is to teach like 8-year-olds and up how to understand AI because
HelloChatterbox.com.
Yeah, yes, thank you.
Yeah, plug it, Dad. Jeez, plug it.
But he knows that kids who are like 8 years old now, by the time they graduate for college, how prominent do we think AI is going to be in their lives? It's going to be the prominence is going to be total, and he wants to prepare them for that eventuality. He's already building ChatGPT into his curriculum and also DALL-E. So you can operate with these AIs, compare them to other AIs and non-AI sources of information to build this sort of literacy and understanding that AI is fallible, that it has the benefits, the problems, and so on. What he won't allow is for it to be used for cheating or for inappropriate content to reach children. So he's got these filters and so on. But it's like, as far as I know, he's the only person in education doing this, and we've got to prepare. First of all, we geezers have to prepare for this world because it's happening so fast. I mean, when did we first hear about ChatGPT? What was it 7 months ago?
Yeah, but we heard it. Let's see. DALL-E was. I mean, this was big as soon as we saw things like DALL-E because you were like, "Holy mackerel! You can feed a computer something, and it will just do it on its own."
Right.
And that was what, a year and a half. I mean, it was still very fast.
It's just, it feels like it was yesterday, and so we're already in this super advanced version. And it's just incredible how fast it's moving. And I think we have to adapt. We have to figure out how to benefit from it, how to partner with it, and how to use it so that it doesn't use us, basically.
Yeah, and I think we're not going to do it as quickly as we need to. So, think about, for decades, we've known that creative thinking is way better than rote memorization for schooling, right? But we still have lots of pedagogy, how do I say this word? Pedagogy, thank you. Pedagogy around memorization. And, kids are still being taught just to memorize things. And if you look at even current tests, look how long it took for the SAT to get a writing component. I mean, so your son is 100% right, I guess, right. Mike. And, we have to start teaching not just those of us in white collar jobs or those of us who think we're artists or whatnot. We're going to have to collapse that creativity because that's going to be presumably what we're going to be best at as humans.
Let me ask you something, Stacey, and you too, Jeff. Have you changed your writing style at all just based on the knowledge that that AI can generate perfect but often bland prose? Have you changed how you write?
Stacey, you're first.
I'm not a writer. My whole goal in writing is to get information across. So no, but what I have been doing is typing in prompts like, what is Wi-Fi 7? Because those are the types of stories I've had to historically write for people, the pros and cons of Wi-Fi 7 versus, and I'm trying to look at what it knows and then say, okay, I have to do better than this, right? So that's how I've approached it in my work.
Mike, no, except that before ChatGPT, when Google Docs put in, the autocomplete suggestions, it pissed me off every time it said what I was going to say. Yeah. And so it did force me, and I always, when I write quickly, because I'm an old rewrite guy, it forces, and then I go back and edit. I do a lot of word choice. and it forces me to word choice. But the other thing that I wrote a post about this a couple weeks ago that I think what probably scares Kevin Roose and company is that it takes the specialness out of writing and being a writer. I've talked about this show before that when Montaigne made writing the key skill you needed to join the public conversation, and people have been intimidated by writing for centuries. And in our management executive program, it was really interesting when we talked about ChatGPT. It's a very international program, and half the students are from outside the US. And I respect them. They can work in multiple languages. They all said that they were using these models to smooth out their English so that they could better present, they could code switch, in essence, with it. And that's really interesting because that's about a form of accessibility. I talked about this with the board at the Marshall Project about how it could be used to help incarcerated people better tell their stories. So it expands the realm of writing and literacy and takes away the specialness of those of us, and Stacey, you are a writer, those of us who think we're writers and make our living as writers. That's what's scaring people a little bit, but I don't think that eliminates jobs. It helps people. It does all kinds of good
Mike,
stuff.
have you
depends on how we use it.
Have you changed how you write?
I have. I've deliberately, sort of consciously.
Are you getting more wacky?
Writing, yeah, a little more colorful, a little more like a little less robotic, a little bit more, sort of off the wall, just a hair. But my prediction is that this is eventually going to be where writing goes, and my
more magical realism, more
yes, more magical realism, exactly. If you look at what happened with photography, when people used to paint for capturing selfies essentially, and also landscapes, because you couldn't have video or photography of a landscape. You wanted to show what a certain place was like to people who would never go there. You would paint a picture of it and try to be realistic, photorealistic to a certain extent. And there was a lot of stylization, but still it was mostly just capturing what was really there. As soon as photography hit, the world of painting just exploded into all kinds of different styles that were deliberately veering from photorealism, right? So you had, everything from Picasso and stuff, Salvador Dali, et cetera. And I think it's not going to be exactly like that with writing, but I think there'll be something like that where humans will be flexing their human side more than they used to. As a
That's
response
not a bad
to
thing.
That's interesting.
I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
I think chess players
I write
have done
like I
that.
talk.
Yeah.
And Go players have actually done that and have successfully defeated AlphaGo, for instance, by playing weirdly.
Well, what they've done is they've identified for lack of a better term, cognitive weakness in how AI it couldn't handle the concept of what is a group. Something as simple as that.
Yeah.
So they just grouped
learn
it to death.
though?
Well,
will it adapt
it could
and
learn.
Oh, yeah.
win?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. But it exposed the truth that none of these AIs can think, and none of them can understand.
Right.
And so you can peck away at them until you find out and expose how flawed they are in terms of compared to human beings reasoning about things. And so we intuit tons of concepts that AI just has no faculty for, and this is something that we'll discover over time as we experiment with these tools. But that's how they beat the Go programs. That the most advanced Go program, they defeated it consistently by exploiting a blind side essentially that the AI had.
Not for long, though.
Not for long.
Well, and that's that's kind of like, it's what makes it so exhausting to be human in a highly capitalistic society, is your whole value is based on how well you adapt to situations, and you're constantly adapting to them to meet your basic needs. It's basically just like being a wild creature out there in the world, but we don't really recognize how stressful it is for us, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, there's one more depressing thought, which is that, the AI will generate so much synthetic media, written, visual, video, everything, and there'll be so much of it, and so much of it will be so complex and necessary for us that we will develop AIs to read it for us as well. And AI will write it, AI will read it, and we won't be part of the process.
Well, if you read like a lot of literature, and you're already seeing this, like the person who trained an AI to like flip through their dating apps for them. If you imagine, like, I've trained an AI to flip through a dating app to get me matches, and someone else has, and they match, and then suddenly they come back and tell us we're matched. And I'm like, oh, great, but I'm busy working on this. Can you set up the first couple chats for me? It is a really kind of, eventually it breaks down because humans do need to connect with other humans. And for us to do anything real, I hope, we have to still be in the picture. But you could totally offload a bunch of really boring, stupid tasks like scheduling meetings and I guess going through dating profiles and to an AI. And it's kind of fun.
And
Job
we'll have
profiles.
an AI assistant. We'll just tell it, just let me know when I need to do or know something.
Yeah.
Just in time. You understand everything for me, so I don't have to, but just nudge me when I need to do something as if I knew something. And
But if we return to stochastic parrots and the warnings that Tim Greber and company had, the problems become managing the input and the output, policing both for bias. This is what I recommend David Weinberger's Everyday Chaos, in which I also think, and I've written about this as well, that what it takes away is explanation as the why. Why did you do this? Well, there's trillions of tokens and connections, and it just was the best given the unlimited A/B testing that the machine did. And so to bear down and try to understand why it does it or how it does it is going to be very headache inducing for us humans, I think, because it's not going to be there.
I don't think people really will care. As long as it works for them, I don't think they will care about asking why. I think what will be more problematic is we'll end up all in maybe not a sanitized version of the world, but a version of the world that's continuously built on, I know they're a huge training, like these models are huge and they're trained on huge sets of data, but we'll kind of coalesce towards this normie existence or normie desires, and we won't recognize what's outside of that because we built AI based walls basically to prevent us from seeing it. And so, but the TikTok algorithm totally proves me wrong there, so maybe I'm totally wrong here. I have no idea how
does it prove you wrong?
I see a lot of
because
weird
it shows
stuff.
you weird stuff. Okay.
And it shows me weird stuff. It continuously tries to bring me into other weird things. So that could be just like, I don't know. I could be totally wrong. And I'm okay with that because I would like to see the weird stuff.
Right. One of the arguments for editors is serendipity.
Yeah, it's not just serendipity. It is also just, it's so we don't all build this one unified experience because that is so ultimately dangerous to live like we all are just the same, right?
Right. Well, so let me ask you a question there. What about what you hear a lot of people speculating about this, where AI learns from AI, learns from AI, learns from AI. The dilution of the original creative human core. Is that worrisome? What do you do about that?
I mean, there's still people around. Like if all people stopped producing things, that would worry me more. But there's always going to be new human inputs into the system. Now, if I think of my kid raised on an AI, like if all of their experiences were based on AI experiences, I guess, or interactions, that would be a problem, which is kind of referencing what you say. I still think there's going to be room for creative human endeavors to break through, though.
Yes.
I hope.